to come home. And we could shoot on the left-hand side of the highway, but not the right-hand side. I mean, that was where the area was.
Okay.
And we spotted some in a gully as we go driving through. Now, I was dressed about like I am right now instead of my hunting clothes. But I did have a load in the muzzleloader, but no cap on it, so it technically is not loaded. So I had a cap right handy and the little loading device to put it on. And we leaped out and went running over there, and sure enough, they were down the gully, and I put the cap on, and I squeezed off and dropped this big boar. But now I don't have any more ammunition or anything else with me, so I had to run back about 100 yards to the motorhome and grab some additional loads, because I was not about to go into that bunch of bush without a loaded rifle in hand. And I'm shooting slugs the size of my thumb. I mean, it's a
Wow.
50 caliber muzzleloader. And I gingerly worked my way in, but it was dead. So they have a reputation, and they've killed people.
Have they really?
Oh, yeah.
How big are they?
Well,
you know the one
important part-
in that
they're
guy's
the size
office
of-
that I
about the size
cleaned?
of a
Oh,
Labrador.
yeah.
That's a Javelina.
About the size of a
okay.
big, good-sized Labrador dog.
There was an
okay.
office I cleaned, and he has a Javelina head
Yeah. And the
on the
fangs
wall.
on him, I'm not kidding, the fangs are like
Right.
Oh my
about that
gosh.
size. So, and they're darn good eating.
Okay, read your story, Daddy.
Well, he was telling a story.
I know.
Now he has to read it.
Once upon a time, way out in the desert, there were 3 little javelinas. Javelinas are wild, hairy, southwestern cousins of pigs. They're not a pig, they're a special species. Their heads were hairy, their backs were hairy, and their bony legs, all the way down to their hard little hooves, were very hairy.
Sounds like some men I've known.
But their snouts were soft and pink. One day, the 3 little javelinas trotted away to seek their fortunes. But in this hot, dry land, the sky was almost always blue. Steep purple mountains looked down on the desert, where the cactus forest grew. Soon, the little javelinas came to a spot where the path divided, and each one went a different way. When you come to a fork in the road, take it. The first little javelina wandered lazily along. He didn't see a dust storm whirling across the desert until it caught him. The whirlwind blew away and left the first little javelina sitting in a heap of tumbleweeds. Brushing himself off, he said, "I'll build a house with them." In no time at all, he did. And there's a sign, number 1, Tumbleweed Avenue. Then along came a coyote. He ran through the desert so quickly and quietly, he was almost invisible. In fact, this was only one of Coyote's many magical tricks. He laughed when he saw the tumbleweed house and smelled the javelina inside. Juicy tender piggy, he thought. Coyote was tired of eating mice and rabbits. And there's a picture of Coyote. He called out sweetly, little pig, let me come in." "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin," shouted the first javelina, who had a lot of hair on his chinny chin chin. "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in," said Coyote. And he huffed and he puffed and he blew the little tumbleweed house away. But in all the hullabaloo, the little javelina escaped, went looking for his brother and sister. Coyote, who was very sneaky, tiptoed along behind. Second little javelina walked for miles among giant cactus plants called saguaros. They held their ripe red fruit high in the sky, but they made almost no shade, and the little javelina grew hot. Then he came upon a Native American woman from the Tohono O'odham tribe, who was gathering sticks from inside a dried-up cactus. She planned to use these long sticks, called saguaro ribs, to knock down the sweet cactus fruit. The second little javelina said, "Please, may I have some sticks to build a house?" "House," she said, which means yes, in the language of the desert people, the Tohono O'odham. When he was finished building his house, he lay down in the shade. Then his brother arrived, panting from the heat, and the second little javelina moved over and made a place for him. And there's a quail walking in front of the house. Pretty soon, Coyote found the saguaro rib house, used his magic to make his voice sound just like another javelina's. Little pig, let me come in, he called. But the little javelinas were suspicious. The second one cried, no, not by the hair of my chinny chin 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 chin. Bah, thought Coyote, I am not going to eat your hair. Then Coyote smiled and showing all his sharp teeth, I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in. So he puffed and he huffed and all the saguaro ribs came tumbling down. But the two little javelinas escaped into the desert. Still not discouraged, Coyote followed. Sometimes his magic did fail, but then he usually came up with another trick. The third little javelina trotted through beautiful palo verde trees with green trunks and yellow flowers. Saw a snake gliding by, smooth as oil. Oh, a green rattler. A hawk floated round and round above her. Then she came to a place where a man was making adobe bricks from mud and straw. The bricks lay on the ground, baking in the hot sun. Third little javelina thought for a moment and said, please, sir, may I have a few adobes to build a house? Si, answered the man, which means yes in Spanish, the brickmaker's language. So the third little javelina built herself a solid little adobe house, cool in summer, warm in winter. When her brothers found her, she welcomed them in and locked the door behind them. Coyote followed their trail. Okay. Little pig, let me come in, he called. The three little javelinas looked out the window. This time, Coyote pretended to be very old and weak, with no teeth and a sore paw, just like her grandpa. Then they were not fooled. No, not by the hair of my chinny chin 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 chin, called back the third little javelina. Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll puff and I'll huff and I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down, said Coyote. He grinned, thinking of the wild big dinner to come. Just try it, shouted the third little javelina. So Coyote huffed and puffed, but the adobe bricks didn't budge. Again Coyote cried, I'll huff and I'll puff and 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 I'll blow your house down. The three little javelinas covered their hairy little ears, and nothing happened. Javelinas peeked out the window. Zap! Coyote got him. No. The tip of Coyote's ragged tail whisked right past their noses. He was climbing up on the tin roof. Next, Coyote used his magic to make himself very skinny. The stovepipe, gasped the third little javelina. Quickly, she lighted a fire inside her wood stove. What a feast it'll be, said Coyote to himself as he squeezed into the stovepipe. I think I'll eat them with that hot jalapeno chili sauce. Whoosh, sizzle, sizzle. Down he went. It's there on the floor. Then the three little javelinas heard an amazing noise. It was not a bark. It was not a cackle. It was not a howl. It was not a scream. It was all of those sounds together. Yap, yeep, yowie! And away in a puff of smoke, shaped like a coyote, zipped out of the roof. So the three little javelinas lived happily ever after in the adobe house. And if you ever hear Coyote's voice way out in the desert at night, well, you know what he's remembering. Meanwhile, back at the ranch house.
The end.
Thank you, Grandpa.
See what I